Hello friends, I'm Dr. Sona and I'm here today to talk to you about how we should save our children from the hazards of social media. First of all, let me ask you and let me tell you what is social media. Two aspects of my talk, friends. First of all, I'll tell you about what is social media, what are the hazards and how children can be saved and why are some of the children falling into the traps of social media. So my first part of my session is about what exactly is the topic today, how to save our children from the hazards of social media. Now let me tell you, today children are not going into the playgrounds. Children are all in their rooms, they are all hooked on to their gadgets, and their playgrounds are the networks, their social networks are the playgrounds of the children today. That is why it is so important to talk about the fact how we should save our children from the hazards of this social media. Now, let me tell you one thing, friends. Online socializing is very important for children today. A child who is not aware of the online social networks is in a lot of problems nowadays. Why is it important? Because online socializing is developing the skills of children and it's also developing their technical skills. So technical skills and the social skills of children are being developed by online socializing. So it's very important and children have to go there. You should not, and we cannot stop children from going into social network sites. So now the point comes, what to do now? How to make our children aware that how much they should be on the social network and what are the hazards of it. Now there are many studies which have been conducted, and one of the recent studies which was conducted was by the American Academy of Pediatrics, and they said that the social media use is the most common activity for today's children and the teens and the tweens, the pre-adolescents and the adolescents, most common activity. And children are logging on to the social media sites more than 20 times per day, and many of them are hooked and many of them are addicted to it. So one of the problems is addiction, and we'll talk about that on another turn. What is social media actually? Social media caters to a lot of needs for the children. For example, we have the social networking sites like the Facebook. Sometime back, Facebook was a very common site for children to log into, but now it has been seen that children are slowly drifting towards other sites like Instagram and Twitter, and the adults and the middle-aged people are more onto Facebook networks now. But children are going into apps and they're going to video games and they're going into Twitter and Instagram. Then other than the social network site, we have the gaming sites, and the gaming sites are very many. For example, there are the Club Penguin sites and the other sites, and of course the very threatening video sites which have the YouTubes and which have various apps. And it was on these video sites that games like the dangerous games like these video games and all have come up. I want to tell you that why have I taken up this topic today, because there was this blue game problem which was going on some time back, and a lot of children had given up their lives, and the media was asking us constantly as to what should be done to save the children. Other than that, another 2 days back, there was another instance where a teenager in Noida, he attacked his mother and killed his mother and sister, and his father says that he was also onto some social network site, some video game which was called a High School Gangster Escape, and that taught him how to kill. So if children are going into these video sites, and it is important that they should be on social media also, so where is it that we have to draw the thin line, and what is the way to save our children? This is my topic of discussion today. Having said that, now let me tell you that social media as such, it has two aspects, and this is what the studies have told us. It has a positive aspect to it and it has a negative aspect to it. The positive aspects of social networking is very, very many, and they are very important, and as I've just told you, this is social empowerment of the children and there is emotional empowerment of the children. Other than that, it's important in rapport building, in interpersonal relationships, in long distance friends, maintaining a relationship between long distance friends or in local friends or between relatives. So social networking is a good platform as long as all these needs are met with. But other than that, it has a negative, it has a darker shade too. And who is going to tell that to the children? It's just the parents and the school, the teachers, and people like us in the society. We should hold camps and we should tell children about the negative aspects and the hazards of social media. Having said that, let me tell you that the negative effects are very, very many. And the most important ones is cyberbullying, which is affecting so many of our children today and which is leaving our children into stress, depression, anxiety, and they're leaving schools and they are becoming total emotional wrecks. Cyberbullying is there. Then of course there is this sexting messages, messages about, which have a sexual message in it, and this is also, harming the children's psyche at a very young age. And the third and the most dangerous part about which we have come to talk today are the dangerous video games which are there online, onto which many children are getting hooked. What should we do about it and why are they getting hooked? So this is one of the points I want to raise about. What exactly should we do about all this is that the parents are the first line of defense between the child and the hazards of social media. What is cyberbullying? Let me tell you, cyberbullying is online bullying, where people are trying to send messages, hostile, aggressive messages, emotionally blackmailing messages to vulnerable people and depleting them of their energy and power. And cyberbullying is worse than bullying because it's online, so it stays with the child. Bullying finishes off in school and the child comes home and he can recuperate. But cyberbullying comes back with the child on his phone or on his media message. So it's something which should be looked into, and it's leading to a lot of distress in children. And as I told you, sexting are those sexual messages which are being sent to children and which is leaving them very bewildered, and a lot of pornography and all is being added on to that. So what is the way to save our children? We have to let them go into the social media. And what is the way to save our children? The only way to save our children, as I told you, the first line of defense is the parents. Now the problem comes that the parents of today are not as tech savvy as their children, because they were not brought up in a time and era when social media was there. So the parents they don't know as much of it as they should, and the children know more. So they take advantage and they fall into various traps. So the first line of defense is what I hold very important, and which is not being done, is discussion with the children. But before you go and discuss with the children, you have to educate yourself about what you're going to discuss and tell them. So if you're going to tell them about cyberbullying, or if you're going to tell them about video games or the danger or the hazards of the video games, you should know about it yourself. So please, parents, educate yourself. Don't feel in any sort of low self-esteem, and because you were not brought up in that era, we were not brought up in that era, we are all learning it. So we are all in it together. Let's learn, educate ourselves, be aware, and then talk to our children at par level with them. So after having said that, discuss with your children. Discussion is the only way where you can tell them the pros and cons of the social media and how it can be hazardous to their mental, emotional, or their physical health also. Physical health means a lot of locations. If the privacy settings of the children on various apps is not monitored, lots of predators come to know about the whereabouts of the child. And secondly, emotional health is a lot of material is being posted on these sites of which the children are not aware of. So we have to educate the children and tell them about what is right and what is wrong for them. What is right? What is right is that they should educate themselves, they should gain as much knowledge, they should be friendly with people whom they know. But they should also manage their time on their social media. If you're finding your child is there for very long time, or he is there repeatedly, he is there hour after hour, then something you have to monitor his time. Thirdly, you have to see is what is he seeing, what is he on to. Now what is he on to, as I said, you have to educate yourself about the various apps which are available and the side effects of these apps. So what you have to see that what he's doing, and then you have to talk to him about it. For smaller children, there are various, so the time factor is there, and of course the monitoring apps are available in the markets where the children sometimes they're not aware that you've applied those monitoring apps to their cell phones or their gadgets, and via them you can come to know what the messages the children are receiving and what they are on to. So monitor what your child is seeing, see how long he is there. If you're finding any behavioral problems in your child, if you're finding that your child is, he's sulking or he's depressed or he's very anxious or he's repeatedly onto it, if he's showing signs of addiction, that means that if he's not onto it, he's feeling restless and repeatedly he's seeing for his, likes or and his messages, then you have to monitor all those aspects also. So parents, you're the first line of defense. Talk to your children, make them aware, tell them not to talk to strangers, tell them not to talk to people who are much older than them or who are showing them too much interest, in them. So these are some of the things you have to make available, tell them about. Now coming to this was something, something about the social media and how we should be aware of what is going on. The second part of it is these games onto which the children are being hooked onto and which are leading them into various mishaps. Now, for example, that blue whale game which is going on there. Now, there was some psychologically disturbed person, I think Philip was his name. He's made up a game and he wants to remove the biological waste of the world. That's what he says. So he targets people. First, he, when he gets reactions from people who react to whatever he writes to them, so he targets those soft targets who he feels are a biological waste, and then he gives them steps to do things, and ultimately those steps are so depressing. Like he tells them to be cut off from his family, and he tells them to visit sinister places. He sort of desensitizes them from fear. Then he tells them to self-harm themselves, and then finally he tells them to commit suicide, and they do it, and he thinks he's doing a great service to the world. Now we are after the government that the government should stop these apps. Fine, the government should stop these apps. Fine, people like Philip should also be behind bars. But why has our child or why have children gone into those sites or been hooked onto those games? That is the point of issue that I'm raising. Why is it that a child is showing his interest in something which is harmful to him? Number one, if he is not aware, so there should be a lot of media awareness and the parents should be aware that they should talk to him and tell him. It has been seen, friends, that a lot of the word blue game challenge, challenge is something, you feel challenged with. So maybe it's a child who is in low self-esteem, and let me tell you, there are children who are in low self-esteem who go into those sites and get hooked onto them, because right from the beginning they are made to feel hopeless, worthless, and they are made to feel as if they are no good by their parents at home, by their teachers in the school, by their friends. So they have that thing in them that we are no good. So when they see the word challenge, they go there and they try out their luck, and then they try to prove it to themselves and to the world that no, they are worthwhile. So parents, if you're finding that your child is, you don't even have to find that your child, you have to bond with your child right from the beginning. Put in a lot of self-worth into your child. Let not your child be into self-esteem. Let not your words and your behavior be as if you are only marks oriented, and if he's not getting good marks, he's useless. There's a whole world and there's a lot of social skills and emotional value which has to go into parenting of your child. Let your child feel important. Let your child feel in high self-worth, be in high self-esteem. Let him feel he's delivering his best and you appreciate him for what he's delivering in school and for his marks. Once he's there happy and in high self-esteem, he will not go into these games which are dubious to prove himself otherwise. So let me tell you that we are trying to make the world and the law all right, and we are trying to remove these games from the internet and all. But then other games are going to come up, like this other game has come up in which this child of Noida, he had some gangster, trainings and all, and he has learned something from there, violence from there, and he's attacked his mother. That is one part of it. We don't know the actual story. The other part of it is like what I've read in the papers and all, that he too was in a lot of low self-esteem because he was not doing well in school, because his parents were comparing him to his sister, that is what he said, who was doing better. And lots of parents come to me with stories like, my daughter or my younger son is excellent, he's doing very well. It's the elder one or vice versa, who's very naughty or who's not able to deliver. And that comparison itself, criticism, comparison, complaining about a child is so depleting. It brings the self-esteem of the child very low, and that is the factor which is making our children depressed, and they're leading them into various hazards of the social media. So parents, be kind to your children, appreciate your children, talk to them about all things in life, not just about marks, not just about studies. Don't tell them, our culture is such that we only think that if they study, they'll get a job and that is how their life will be made. Then one aspect may be covered, but the other aspects of life, their emotional growth, their mental growth, their social growth is somehow not up to the mark, and then they become wrecks in life. So parents, be aware, talk to your children, empower your children, tell your children to be assertive, teach your children to be assertive and to say no to something which they think is not right. And tell them, keep on telling them as parents what is right and what is wrong. I'm getting a lot of comments on my comment box, and I'll be answering those comments after I've finished this video. And I'm so happy that all of you all have joined. It's a very important issue, friends. And until and unless we take it to each and every corner of the world, each and every house, and apply it, and try to empower our children and empower our youth and tell them to walk the right path, these hazards, problems will keep on coming, but our children will not be trapped if they are assertive enough to say no to the wrong thing. So that was my talk today. I have not, it's a short talk, it's a very impromptu talk. It was just because many questions were coming to me about why children are falling into video games and they should be banned and the law should be strict and the government should be strict. Yes, of course, do all that. But then these things will keep on coming. As I said, it is the child who has to say no, and the child will only say no if he is empowered by the parents to say no, and he can only be empowered if he is in high self-esteem. Self-esteem in our children is very low today. It is leading them into depression, it's leading them into anxiety, it's leading them into maladaptive behavior, and it is all stress which is causing, which is also a factor of their low self-esteem. And the only way to empower our children is to bond with them. Parents, you are the role models. You can empower your children. You can build our society or you can break our society. It's in your hands. Educate yourself. Thank you.